Just doing a quick mic check. Just realised my audio's been off. So yes, just going quickly over what we did last time. Realised my audio's been off. That's why we have mic checks. Yes, okay. So yeah, last time we we were working on difficulty settings. And since then I've done a bit of work on implementing difficulty settings into the spiderweb landmark, and might today spend some time looking at doing that in other landmarks. But other than that, today, what I'm going to do as well is go over the landmarks and start turning some of its variables into C++ variables, so they can be more easily saved and loaded, and maybe standardizing a few of the variables across the landmarks. So, for example, the spider's web had actors that needed that, like stones, had those stone actors that were positioned around it, and aphid farms had the plants that were positioned around it. Those were both of those actors were mostly decorative, and so I can store them in an array of actors, making them more standard across the idea of landmarks, and then I can save them all in a standard way. So. So, as I was saying, I've done a bit of work on the web landmark. 1 second, I'm just gonna keep the chat open so I can see anyone who arrives. I haven't announced this anywhere today. I will do social media. But anyway, I'm gonna start with looking at this. Well, this is what I was saying with difficulty settings. So this basically takes the difficulty, multiplies it by 4, rounds the number, and that's the number of spiders that are in the spider web. I've also made it spawn spiders, and the spiders head over to the spider web. Also, it kills spiders if there's too many, like if the difficulty drops at some point. So I'm going to first of all check out some the landmarks. landmarks. Okay, landmarks are just actors at the minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a landmark C++ class. Before I do that, I'm going to change the name of the landmark base class to landmark BP. So I'm going to give the landmarks essentially a base C++ class. This allows me to write code for the landmarks rather than just relying on other things. Okay. I have to give it some time to autosave. Whilst it's autosaving, I may as well do a quick post on Twitter and Facebook. And find an appropriate image. Maybe just one from the newsletter. Just one moment. On Facebook. All right. Okay, so now I've done those posts. So I'm going to in here make a new C++ class. It's going to be based off actor. It's not going to be called myActor. It's going to be called landmark. And basically, I'm just going to put some of the variables from landmarks into C++, and this is allows me a much easier way of accessing those variables from C++. You can access them through blueprints anyway, but to access them through C++ is to access a blueprint variable through C++ is very difficult. Doing it the other way around is very easy. I'm not saying it's impossible. Right. So there may be a bit more coding this stream than there has been in the previous streams. Previous ones I've just been working in blueprints. Now I'm going to be moving some of the stuff I've done in blueprints into C++. Not all of it. Some of it's still fine to be handled in the blueprints. But some of it needs to move into the C++ if we're ever going to do a proper save for free play mode. Mike's not with me today. He's gone back. So it's going to be a little bit quieter this stream. Should probably make an announcement on Steam as well. Whilst it's doing this, it takes it a while to create a new C++ class. Oh, that sounds like it's finished compiling. Now, for some reason, it's opening a version of. Hang on. One moment, chaps. Okay. Right. Okay, so we have now a class for the landmarks. Now, in this, I'm going to want a few variables. T arrays, which is like Unreal's array. Now, there's a few common things between various landmarks. One seems to be creatures. So, for example, the web landmark has spiders. The aphid landmark has ladybirds. And aphids, although they're not actually creatures. And the what was the other landmark? Well, the fish landmark has wood ants, stray wood ants that are harvesting it. So I want a T array which I think it does pointers anyway. Just call them creatures. So I've got to include the code for creatures in there. Hello, I just need to say I really like your game and hope you update. I hope the new update will release. Just makes it even more fun. Thanks very much, Rakana. Thanks for the compliment. We hope the new update's going to make it fun as well, more fun as well. Okay, so it's called landmark. No, creature. I also want an array of actors. I'll call that decoration. Yeah. Before I do anything, just gonna have a quick look in some of these other. Just make sure I'm getting this right. I've got so much stuff open. Swarm's fine. Swarm would be a good one to look at. Yeah. Okay. So I do need to make them of pointers. I thought I might have done. Okay. Additionally, I need to give them the header. I'll just copy it from here. Right, this allows it. This flags it to be visible in blueprints. So there you can edit it anywhere. You can read and write it from the editor. Category, I don't want it to be swarm stats. This is landmark. Category landmark's fine. Is there any other arrays I wanted? I said creatures, decoration. Oh, there's a way. There's a way I thought I could get rid of spawning as the way I could despawn them as well is to do a quick check to check that the player's not looking at the surface, and if they're not, it can do spawning and despawning then. Just so you can change landmarks around every now and then during the game to keep things fresh. Okay. So I said, what? I'm missing something. Creatures, decoration. There'll be various other things I need to add in here as well. You know, that'll do for now. I'll build that. That'll at least give us somewhere to start with it. And when it'll come to saving the landmarks, what it'll do is it'll save each individual creature. Failed. I actually think this might be because I've got two versions of the editor open, that can't be helping. I'm just going to save these and then close it whilst I do the next. I know why it's telling me to save them. It's because I renamed their parent. Yeah. Okay, so now it's not hot reloading. Hot reloading is what the engine does when it do a clean build as well. I've spelt this wrong, haven't I? That's the issue. Yes, it's a typo. Always read your errors. You're right, Hypocrisy. Thank goodness you've arrived. I'll actually start doing something now you've arrived. It's clearing the old hot reloads out there. Right, I'm just going to get myself a coffee whilst it's doing this build. Back in a moment. Have we built? Did it fail? Has it failed? It hasn't failed, has it? It's not failed. It's not failed. We can calm down. I can open the engine again. Right. Okay. So what I can do with a list of creatures like that is I can use it to store the information I need about the creatures. But then when I'm saving the game, it can save the information about the creatures from there, and when I'm loading the game, it can restore it from there. But then also I'll run an individual script on the in each landmark, which will have its own setup because they're all unique. For example, the fish landmark has wood ants heading to and from the fish. Now, when you restore an ant from that, you want to know whether it was heading to the fish or from the fish. When you restore a spider, it needs to know where the middle of its nest is and what the object it used to detect is, and so on and so forth. So we've actually got to think about each individual landmark as we do the restore. It's not quite as simple as it's just doing it. So, if I have a look at the web landmark again, Blueprints landmarks. Don't know why I called it web with two B's. It's like the name web. It's too late now, I've named it. Okay, so here when we spawn a spider, the spider currently gets added to this list of spiders. And what I want to do is find all references to that list of spiders and replace it with before I do that, what I need to do is the landmark BP. This is currently a parent of actor. What I want to do is reparent blueprint to be a parent of landmark. That will of course affect everything that it's a child of, and now I should be able to... Yeah, there we are. Creatures! There she blows. But of course this is a list specifically of spiders, and now instead I'm using a list of creatures. So I need to... There is going to be some considerations here as I go through this. Okay, so now that's been added to the list of spiders. I need to find the next reference to spiders. Okay, so I think I should just be able to... Okay, fine. Fine. I'll retype it. I want to be awkward about it. Okay, so this code here clears out the array if a spider's been killed or has just disappeared. However, I suspect, again, I'm going to have to redo it rather than, yeah, okay. I'm reverse looping through them so I can delete them as I go, is the idea. Okay, so that gets rid of that use of it. That one's already gone. That's gone. Okay, so this is the thing that actually kills a random spider. So I want to again. So this kills a random spider if there's too many spiders based on the game's current difficulty. I'm assuming it's not just really doesn't want to just allow me to plug it into anything. It's valid. Actually, no, it's too late now, isn't it? These checks I should just be able to take over. Okay, so that should be able to go now. It's probably fine. And finally, it's never gonna let me do it easily, is it? Right, so now there should be no references to spider. Oh, there is. One survived. Oh, but it's okay. Hang on. It's only survived because I didn't delete it. But I also forgot to do something else, so it's kind of good that I didn't delete it. Okay, so that should be all references to spiders removed. Okay, now instead of spiders, I'm using the creatures array. Which means I'll be able to access it from C++. So now that spiders array isn't being used, it can be deleted. So it can do that itself, but when it the web is decoration, the detection area isn't. But can I justify saving them as decoration? I'll come back to that later. I don't need to worry about it just yet. Okay, so this is it spawning the pebbles. As it does it, I'm just going to... what did I call it? Decoration. I'm just going to add the pebble into decoration. Just so we've got a reference to them, so... at some point, if we need to delete the whole spider's web, we've got hold of the pebbles as well that we can get rid of. Anything else need to be saved in decoration? I guess we can save the funnel web's nest. That can be saved in decoration. So exactly the same as that. The auto size web, should that go into decoration? It is technically decoration. And we should just be able to spawn it. So I'm going to add it in for now. Because it doesn't need anything else doing to it. The only thing I don't think fits in decoration is the detection area. But to be fair, the way that's currently set up, it's the same for all of them. So I should just be able to, when I do respawn it, I should just be able to spawn exactly the same thing each time. Okay. So This is looking alright. Not too shabby. Okay, so that should run fine. I will just give that a brief test. Where's my level? That's because those things have been reparented. There's some landmarks we haven't touched at all yet, but I don't want to start making more landmarks whilst I'm still figuring out the stuff that I'm going to need in place for these landmarks. So let's see if that's working roughly. Okay. So they should all have one funnel web spider in them already. This one looks like it does have. And at some point soon, the next spider should spawn. I think it should be 30 seconds in, roughly. Or not, you know. It's a spider eating a spider. Yeah, I think it should have happened by now. I had it working earlier, so it must be something I've done in the meantime. What I've done in the meantime is replaced it with creatures. Yeah, it definitely needs more decoration. But like I said, I don't want to get any more complicated with any of the landmarks until I've got my head around what I'm saving with them. To be honest, I don't think it needs plants. I think it needs bits of wood. But I'm gonna have to ask Matt to produce those sort of things. Okay, so if I watch one of these, I'll see where it's getting stuck. I mean, what it should do. I mean, that says starting spawn countdown there, and then when it does spawn the spider, it should say spawning spider. I added this branch in. Right. So let's see if it starts the spawning countdown. It should start the spawning countdown within 10 seconds of it spawning. So spawning spider, that's the initial spawning of the spiders. Okay, that's starting spawning countdown. I mean, if we watch one of them. Hmm. It does still seem to be only one for each nest. See, the way the stones have currently been set up, they'll all be equidistant to each other because that's the only space they can use to spawn. Well, they'll nearly be equidistant to each other. So yeah, obviously that needs to change as well. Small work I need to do with the graphics of those things. But at the minute, the spider's not spawning. I have a suspicion why not. If I watch one of the landmarks thing decide to spawn a spider. Now, earlier I deleted the tick function. I deleted the tick function from it, which I suspect may have actually stopped it ticking. So. So that may have stopped the timers. Essentially what I'm expecting to see is it to run the thing saying it's going to spawn another spider. Then 30 seconds later it tells me it's spawned a spider and another spider runs into the web and joins the other one. So there's the initial spiders spawned. There the countdown started. It should be 30 seconds roughly. It's not doing it. Right, let me have a nosy at what's going on in here. So, yeah, this should be stopping it at the moment. So it'll have done it once. And now spawning has been set to true. So it's waiting till this function gets run called spawn spider. Maybe it's the starting spider that's the issue. I've clearly done something between this morning and now. I don't think it's just the adding the creatures to it, because this doesn't seem to be running anymore. Huh. Burnt areas of ground. What's with shadows? likely. Right, I'm just going to check because I'm not constructing a script. Spawn event graph. There is something which spawns an initial spider down here somewhere. There it is. That's the thing that does at the very start of the level. I'm just going to remove that to see if that's the issue. Because I'm wondering whether the initial spawning of the spider is flagging something off. Bureaucracy. Are there going to be any other types of insects that you have to compete for resources with, aside from ants and from other ants and the ladybug mechanic? Yes, there will be. I mean, there's going to be other colonies in the game, so there'll be other proper ant colonies which will be fighting you for resources. But I seem to have broken the. Oh yeah. Only one appears to have spawned. Oh no, it's not only one appears to have spawned, they've just got no spiders in them. Of course they haven't. I'm going to reduce the spawn time whilst I'm testing as well. Okay, so the spawn time is currently... change it to 2 to 5 seconds for now, just for the sake of testing purposes. There's one of the Kickstarter stretch goals was a termite colony as well. But there's going to be all sorts of other mechanics brought into the game. I mean, in free play mode, I'm experimenting with the funnel web spiders, and there'll be resources within their nests. So the idea is that there'll be a purpose, there'll be a reason to just run the countdown, but it never seems to reach 0. What's wrong? I mean, I know timers are working because it wouldn't have started the spawn. For some reason, it's just not running the function spawn spider anymore. Okay, so it... Randos. is it not doing the spawn spider? Programming is not always smooth sailing, unfortunately. Hit a bit of a snag at the minute. Matt's got my map checked out. Okay, so that worked. It ran that function. Why is it not running spawn spider? Oh. Yep, I figured it out. I know why it's not running spawn spider. It's because I gave spawn spider a boolean, which I'm not allowed to do. That was something I did to allow me to spawn spiders at the beginning of the level. You're not allowed to do if you're using the timer, because you can't pass any arguments in through a timer. That's the whole problem. So now that should work. Hi Mako. Yeah, don't worry, you haven't missed anything too exciting. Okay, there we are. The spiders are spawning now. Yeah, I still haven't added in that code for stopping them. At the minute, right. So I've got it currently set. So a funnel web. What's the difficulty at? It should be outputting the difficulty in the output log. A funnel web will aim to have 4 spiders in per 100% difficulty. So at 25% difficulty, oh god, that thing's murdering them all. 25% difficulty, it'll aim to have 1. It's not going well for them there. But yeah, essentially that's working. I can put that back up to a 30-second spawn timer now rather than the 5-second one. My massive confusion. The other day I reached the 30 wave. Ooh, very good. Wave 30. I think at some point I should do another, just like a custom game where you can, where it's like a wave mode but with much more varied waves. I think that'd be good fun. Similar to what it is at the moment, to Hold Out at the moment, but just with much more varied waves and whatnot. Okay, so we should be good now. I can actually get back onto what I was meant to be doing. Okay. I mean, I could take a look at some of the other landmarks. Maybe some of the ones we've done already. Looks like whatever Matt's done to this, it's he's finished with it. So having a look at some of the other landmarks that we've done already, we've got the fish landmark. Let's look at the fish landmark. Now the fish landmark, let me just find free play. So let's spawn fish landmarks into it. And stop spawning Spunnel webs? Yeah, no more spunnel webs. But I want dead fish. There we are. So what I want to vary on the fish landmark is the rate at which the ants are spawning. How many waves exist? No, there isn't a limit on it. It's infinite. Because the waves in it aren't they're done mathematically. So the waves just get bigger and bigger and bigger forever. I think what I'll do is if I make another one, I'll add in like a bronze standard, a silver standard, and a gold standard, but I'll still like to keep it infinite so people can just keep going. Maybe there's a platinum standard as well. So that wouldn't actually be a particularly difficult game mode to set up, particularly if it was just an underground map like the other one. It might be quite a lot of fun. Then you could have like waves of what do you call them? Slave makers as well. They could come in and all that stuff, all that good stuff. I can also have patches of funnel web spiders and that. So basically, it'd be similar to, but you can make it an absolutely massive map, like a massive underground only map, because it doesn't have a surface. It hasn't got all that to worry about, and you could have, like underground. There can be patches of funnel webs and whatnot so that you've got to fight your way through, but also other stuff. Like some bigger stuff. Yeah, I think I'll do that at some point. Maybe to bridge one of the gaps between just a bigger, better holdout. Okay, so now we've got the fish coming in. Okay, so the way we want to do it with the fish is between wood ant spawns. Now when the when it's at 100% difficulty, the spawn should be fairly quick. So I'm guessing between half a second and 1.5 seconds, roughly there. When the game's really easy, it should probably be somewhere between like 7 and 10 seconds between spawns. We can set it up like that to start with, and balance it at a later date, as long as we've got the variables there. So, what we want, similar to what I did with the funnel webs, so here's what we've got here is an event that is just a looping event on time 3 seconds, which spawns the next ant. So at the minute it's just every 3 seconds. What we want to do is, instead of that, can we... That's because I'm about to remove that from it, the spawn out function. But I'm going to do this in a function instead to keep things a bit neater. And what the function's going to do is it's going to spawn the ant, and then it's going to set itself up to run again. Is that right? No, the outside function should do that. Yeah, that makes more sense. I would like a huge map with both underground and overworld. A lot of life in it. There is a multi-ant stacks and lots of other insect stuff happening. In the middle of everything, one queen. I was trying to hold an empire. Hopefully free play should feel a bit like that. I mean, the idea with free play is the more difficult the level gets, the more vibrant and dangerous the surface will become. So hopefully that that should be doable with free play, which is what I'm working on at the minute. Okay, so spawn wood ant. Okay, so yeah, that's the function to spawn the wood ant. Here, what I'm going to have this do... I failed to copy that over somehow. Hopefully. So yeah, I'm going to have it. This is its... Every 0.1 second, it's going to decide whether it needs to... Yeah. So instead of calling this spawn ant, I'm going to call it update spawn time. So it's going to update the time between the ants spawning based off the level difficulty. Now the level difficulty comes from free play director. Okay, what I want it to do is the higher the difficulty, the lower the spawn time. I don't think I ever want it to go faster than 0.1, which is what that's at. At harder difficulties as well, as the difficulty gets higher, I might make it spawn like some of the shooter wood ants as well, just to mix it up a bit. So this time needs to be set based off. Hang on. So if spawning's false, set spawning to true and do that. Set spawning to false. So basically you can only have one timer going at a time. It's not going to override that timer. It would be nice to choose the map size, but I think it can't be possible. In our current setup, no. It's again, I don't want to say never to anything. But in our current setup, all the maps are designed and they're quite thoroughly designed. But with free play mode, we'll be slowly adding more maps. I think what I'll probably do at some point, once we've got more than one map, because free play is just going to start with one map, but once we've got more than one map, as you select the map, it'll give you details on it, which will include like the size of the surface and that sort of thing. So as we get more maps, you'll be able to sort of select the size of map you want to play on. Don't need that test function anymore. Okay, so I now need to work out how long before the next spawn we want to wait. It's going to be based off the difficulty value. So it's just going to be a linear growth. At 0, I want it to be at 100%. Probably one every, what did I say? 0.5 to 1.5 seconds. Cancel. And it's at 0%, something like every 10 seconds, roughly. Okay, so get my pad out. Just a linear graph. Because it's at a range as well, which makes it a bit awkward. But I guess I can just pick a time and then have a range around that time. I don't think the range needs to increase or decrease. So at 100%, time equals 1. At 0%, time equals 10, roughly. So that's the equation of the line. Ugh, I've got mind blank. Equation of a straight line. I hate it when this happens. Okay, so for So what I'm saying is t equals the difficulty plus 1. No, that's not it. It's some constant time. T equals some constant. So some constant times the difficulty plus 1. So 100%. Difficulty is 100. So what's the constant? So t minus 1. T minus 1 divided by the difficulty equals the constant. So t at that is 10. So 10. So it's 9. 9 over the difficulty, which is 1. 9 over 1. Let's see. Right? Am I going mad? Nine over 1 is obviously 9. So C is 9. That can't be right. This is only on one in one. It works in that occasion, but 50%. 9 times 0.5 plus 1. 5.5, yes, it is. C is 9. Okay, so T, which is the time, equals 9 9 times the difficulty plus 1. Okay, so basically, if our difficulty is 30%, it's 9 times 0.3, which is 2.7 plus 1. So at 30% difficulty, it will be 3.1. Ted, I'm going mad. Yeah. It'll be 3.7 at 3.7 seconds. Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I don't want it to be constant because I said I wanted them to spread out. So what I want to do instead is give it a random amount. So random float in range between minus 0.5, 0.5. That will... Oh. I do actually want the spread to be bigger the further up it goes. Where is Matt? It's always a good question. Where is Matt? Matt's He doesn't live here. He does not live here. Oh, hello Torbjorn. Good to have you. Good to have you back. Tornibjorn. Tornibjorn. Tony. Tony Bjorn. I'm gonna stop. Right, I'm gonna start with that at least. So +1 plus a random value, either increasing or decreasing it by half a second. And that'll spawn the ant. Now, hopefully, at 0.6, we should see one. Have I done this the wrong way around? I have, haven't I? I've made it get easier as the difficulty's gone up. Where's my fish? There's one. So we're at 60% difficulty at the moment, according to my maths. At 60% difficulty. 9 times 0.6 plus 1. Okay, so there should be one spawning roughly every 6 seconds. Now, of course, 9 times 100, no, times 1 plus 1 is 10. So yeah, I've done this the wrong way around. I've made this get easier. Really, I want it the opposite. So I think what I want is to just invert the so 0.6 so if I do 1 over 0.6, what does that come out as? No, that's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to do. Oh, I've messed up this maths, haven't I? Totally beyond. They are, but it looks like I need to come up with a better way of doing this, because currently the ants that are being spawned, if we have a look at them, they're spawned in this function. They've got colony ID -1. Now, I'm pretty sure some of the creatures have colony ID -1. It looks to me like it's the spiders, because they were ignoring them. So they just need to be in a different colony ID. However, to assure that, I either need to make sure I never use the same colony ID twice when shoving them in, or come up with some better method of doing it. Maybe it requests an empty colony ID and then adds it up by 1. Something along those lines. 1 minus 0.6, 0.4. Okay, so if I do 1 minus, I get the correct answer on the difficulty. So rather than using difficulty here, I use 1 minus the difficulty. However, when the difficulty goes over 100%, so at 150%, so if I have 1 minus 1.5, so that's 150% difficulty, I end up with a number of minus 0.5 for the difficulty, which doesn't work. Then I have 9 times minus 0.5. I'm going to need to have a maximum difficulty for this. Particularly if 0.1 seconds the fastest I can spawn ants safely. Yeah, I could turn it off. I'm always reluctant to turn off autosaving. In case I break it. No, in case something crashes. See, I'd love it to just autosave the everything but the level. It's only the level that takes time. Everything else saves dead quick. I've lost work recently because of that. Because I've been cancelling the autosave. First impression, what the hell is going on? The hell is going on, yes, you're right. Maybe I want it to reach some sort of cap at 200% rather than 100%. Maybe at 200% difficulty, which will rarely happen, that's when things are spawning at 0.1 rate. So if I change my calculation to do... so time between spawns equals some constant times 1 minus the difficulty plus 1. So at difficulty 200%, I'm expecting time to be, let's say 0.3 be the absolute minimum we're ever going to touch. So 0.3 equals some constant times 1 minus 2 plus 1. Okay, so using that equation, I can work out what the constant should be in this case. Okay, so let's just rearrange that. 0.3 minus 1 divided by 1 minus 2 equals the constant. This is going to be 1.3 minus 1 divided by 1 minus 2. Sometimes I wonder why I type stuff into calculators. According to this, the constant is 0.7. Does that work? Okay, so at 25% difficulty, so this should be pretty easy. The time between the spawns will be 0.7 times 1 minus the difficulty, which I said was what? 25%, so 0.25 plus 1. No, it doesn't work. That's come out with 1.525 seconds. Which is actually pretty quick. Really, at 0.25, at 25% difficulty, that should have been tiny. That should be huge, sorry, that should have nearly been 10. I need some time to think about this maths properly whilst I'm not on stream, because the last thing you want to do is watch me rack my brains over some really simple maths. So let's not do that for now. I'll come back to this later. To do, fix to make more difficult. Higher the difficulty. Right, I'll come back to that one. Okay, so the next landmark to look at is the root aphids. Now, root aphids have a value on them called average spawn. Right. In here, actually, I should add the things to the decoration. Yes, that's auto-sized rosemary. Rather than add that to plants, add it to decoration. So then we can load and save it. Don't think I need to add it to plants. Let me just make sure. Looks to me like there's only one call of plants anywhere. Now, clusters is a bit more tricky. Again, that is going to need to be saved in quite a specific way. More specific than the plants, certainly. Because that's a group of root aphid clusters, and I'm going to need to save certain values on that to be able from that to be able to restore them, such as which aphids are alive, the respawn rate of the aphids, that sort of thing. Okay, so yeah, that was spawning a random number of aphid clusters. So what I want, I guess, is in the landmark. Okay, so there's I could add specific arrays in, so like one for the detection area of the spider, one for and so on. No, I decided the detection area of the spider I didn't need to do that, did I? Because that's the same every time. However, the position of the actual clusters is quite different. Also in here, I could do with it knowing what landmark type it is. Hmm. Trying to decide if I need to create an enum. Maybe enum might be worth it. Just to have, to have some way of distinguishing what type of landmark it is when it loads it. I mean, we've got a few options. We can either do it like that, or we could do it via class. Hmm. I think an enum might be worth it. So I'm going to add an enum. Don't think it needs to be anywhere else other than landmarks. Let's copy this so I've got an idea of what I'm doing. So I should just be able to shove it in here. I'll delete it all. One example. So I'll call this landmark type. That seems fine. What else have I done? Aphids, deadfish, web. So something else I could do is the food appearing in the spider's web as well. I haven't done that. So maybe make that the next task. And again, I'm just trying to set up variables here for saving it. Should be alright. Just check I haven't got anything I need to save in here. No, so if this goes horribly wrong, I don't care. So, can new queen ants be born in the colony? Not at the minute. I think it would be a bit of a different game mode if we did that. We're not aiming for that at the moment. It's still just the one colony. I only missed the one when he was doing the funnel web because I had to go to birthday. I believe that is that one on YouTube yet? Might be. Okay, so looks like that's been built. So what I want to do, for example, in the fish landmark, so I should be able to set the variable. Here we are. Yeah, that's fine. And web. It's only the 3 of them I've done so far. I've got a couple more landmarks planned. Okay. Right, so I wanted some variable where I could hold the root aphids. That's what I should have done. Haven't done it. At least hold the information about them. So it should just probably be another array of actors. I should definitely have done that a moment ago. Very similar to this. But it's not going to be decorations. They're not decoration. They're. I'm going to call them landmark actors. So they're actors associated with this type of landmark, and we're going to use the type of landmark to restore them later. That was the point of putting that in. And I'm gonna and so the groups of aphids will be. And I did something in the Formicarian mode. I added in. There was something called save variables, and they are saved. That's essentially an array of keys and variable, which are saved every time something is saved. All of those are saved. I'll do something similar on the landmarks, so the landmark themselves will have some variables. Now, this is going to get a bit tricky, really. Because in order to restore the aphids, I'm going to have to save variables from each individual aphid cluster. It's going to have to remember how many aphids are alive and that sort of thing. It is going to get tricky. It's totally going to get tricky. But we will get there. Okay, so as I spawn root aphid clusters, are these used anywhere? No. Good. So instead I'm going to add them to this array, landmark actors, so I can save and load them later, rather than something called aphid clusters. Right. However, the difficulty on these, the way the difficulty should be affected on these is as the difficulty goes higher, more ladybirds should spawn. And I believe there's a variable called ladybird spawn rate. Right, coming back to chat for a moment. Hey John, why the ants get back to the queen after reaching the landmark and don't stay there? Oh, you mean the ones that are the ones that are on the surface in this map, they're actually gathering from the fish at the minute. So if you look at them, they walk into the fish, they harvest from the fish, and then they walk home. There's something I want to do with the fish harvesting, because at the moment they just walk into the centre of the fish, and I don't particularly like it. Where's the fish? Okay, so what I want them to do is walk to the edge of the fish really and harvest from the edge of it. At the moment they walk right into the fish, and you can't actually see what they're doing, but it's harvesting there. See there, it's got a bit of meat, we'll call that. So they're actually gathering from the fish. It's not just this guy should just pick that up. Yeah. I'm going to need to look at the creature spawning at some point soon as well. At the moment I haven't, and they're just being let to their own devices and spawning. But I need to, and it's just spawning. It's exponential at the minute. So the longer the every 5 seconds a new pack of creatures is being spawned, and those packs of creatures can spawn more creatures. So that's why we end up with the map being stupidly filled with creatures. Okay. So root aphid landmark. Okay, so if I'm gonna have a brief look at root aphids, because I want to put in some vague semblance of difficulty on those as well. So in order to do that, I'm just going to have a look at Free Play Director and make only the thingy. Yeah, thingy's a technical term. Only the aphid farm spawn this time. Yes, the difficulty in this is meant to change how many enemy ants spawn on the fish. Well, it's meant to change the speed at which they spawn. So at the minute I've got it set up the wrong way round. So as the game gets more difficult, it turns it down. But I was doing some bad maths earlier, and I need to sort that out. And I'm not going to continue doing bad maths on stream. So yeah. It's essentially meant to do that. Yeah, the reason the spiders are standing on top, directly on the fish, is because the spiders go to exactly the point they're told, whereas other creatures walk around that point. Spiders just go to exactly it and stay there. So it looks a bit silly when there's a massive group of spiders. Really, there should never be a massive group of spiders like that. Spiders should be a creature on their own. I need to look into that when I revisit creature spawning, which I might do next week. so work on the difficulty and how it spawns creatures. We don't own our own ant colony. Mike is thinking about getting some. Just some Lasius niger, I think he wanted to catch. Okay, what am I doing? Is the ladybirds. Okay, so it's spawning the plants. That's aphid gestation time. Right, here we are, average ladybird spawn. So that's an average amount of time between each ladybird spawn. So that needs to go up needs to go down. It's exactly the same maths again as the other one. It needs to be inversely proportional. So the more ladybirds, the higher the difficulty gets, the more ladybirds spawn. Now, at the moment, that is clearly way too many ladybirds. So there's probably some bad maths going on already. So, as difficulty hits 0, I want the ladybird spawn time to get close to get really high, but also I remember the difficulty. The spawn time of the ladybirds is also related to how many aphids exist. So if there's more aphids, there'll be more ladybirds. Yeah, the difficulty is not actually set up on the ladybirds at the moment. They've just got. I've just set them at a rapid spawn rate. We got some tiger beetles guarding it. There'll be no aphid stealing at this aphid farm. The tiger beetle guard. See you, Verden. Is the free play the best part of your work in Empires of the Undergrowth? No, it's basically it's a way of recycling the content we've already got, by allowing people to just play. It's not going to be I don't see it being the main game mode, and certainly we aim to have the campaign's meant to be the main game mode. But this should basically, if anyone wants to play Empires of the Undergrowth more like just an ongoing colony game, that's what free play mode's for. So, and there's obviously at the minute I'm spawning way too many creatures. I need to have some decay on the creature's flesh as well, because I don't want loads of corpses on the surface forever. So there's quite a few things that still need to come into place. I've been working on these landmark systems for a while now. I'll lose my voice. I should probably get another coffee, actually. So many dead lady, but yeah. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to toy with this value just to see what difference it makes. So changing that to 60 should mean there's a lot less ladybirds. I'm just basically verifying that that's the case. So yeah, that's clearly is the case. For some reason, they've all got two at them now. Oh, that one's got 3. Right, I'm just gonna get coffee, guys, for my throat. I'll leave that going whilst I'm doing that. So you got something interesting to look at. Yes, there'll be plenty of changes to free play after releasing it. In fact, the idea is that I'm gonna. The idea is that I'm going to keep adding to it. As we add to the game, we'll keep adding to free play as well. Okay, so that clearly does work. Yeah. The ladybird spawn time. So what I want to do is I'll do it back here. Just a repeating timer. I'm going to add some element of randomness into it. Basically, so at the start of the map, as they all appear at the same time, they don't all sync up with their checks. This difficulty value should probably be... Yeah, I'm going to have to do a load of work with the free play director to make it savable. But not really. I don't want the ladybirds to give more food. They're more of a nuisance. I still want them to remain as more just a nuisance that you need to fend off. Because in nature, ants don't really go hunting ladybirds. You could argue that they'd eat anything they could kill. But I think it's more likely a ladybird will fly off. But again, it's more of a gameplay mechanic, and we want it to. We don't want you to be farming the ladybirds. You're farming the aphids. So again, this is going to be some value of difficulty, which is inverse. So I actually think this is going to be more like an exponential curve. So what I mean by that is the time between ladybird spawns gets lower as difficulty gets higher, but there needs to be a minimum. Again, the minimum should probably be about 0.5, and as difficulty tends to infinity, ladybird spawn time tends to 0.5. So, although it's at the same time we want a maximum ladybird spawn time, so above that point. But yeah, again, we can just have that tend to a different value. So, as it tends to 0, as difficulty tends to 0. So this can be time here. This can be difficulty. I know you can't see what I'm writing. But as difficulty tends to 0, time tends to what? 60 seconds? So yeah, it's going to be like that. And then as difficulty tends to infinity, time tends to 0.5 seconds. Something along those lines. That's what I've that's what I've drawn in the book. So as difficulty tends to 0, time tends to 60 seconds. As difficulty tends to infinity, time tends to 0.5. Now, expressing that as an equation, I'll figure out later. I'm not going to figure that one out now because it's not. That's an exponential. But that's going to be how that's probably how the other one will work as well. But for now, I'm just going to throw some value in to so for each. So I'll say this is a to do. Yeah, we're aiming for it in February. It's obviously not ready to test yet, and we'll be running it by our testers before we get it out. But yeah, we're aiming at some point in February for the first iteration of it. It's free play mode will receive updates as the game gets updated as well. You didn't particularly miss anything. It's just me trying to work out the difficulty values again. I'm going to do the maths for it off stream because I need to get my head in a maths place. But essentially, I'm going through all of these. Not clusters. No. It's called landmark actors. What was it called? What's the variable? The variable is average ladybird spawn. Yeah, I guess it will just need to be converted to an integer then. I wonder why that's an integer. Yeah. But at the moment, I'm just going to set it back to 5. And we're going to need to implement the difficulty into it. So that's going to be where the difficulty of the ladybird stuff changes. Ah. Thank you. So yeah, don't worry. I've not done anything amazing there. I've just essentially set it up. That's one of the options in free play actually. We'll take another look at the free play options shortly. I'm going to stop streaming at 5 UK time, which is 35 minutes. So in about 20 to 25 minutes, I'll take us through some of the free play options and that, just so you can get an idea of where I'm what I'm working towards. Okay, so that is going to deal with the difficulty on this landmark. Obviously, it's not done yet, but it will. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, because I need something simple to do, so I'm going to do food on the funnel web, in the funnel web, in the funnel web. I think as time goes on, more food should spawn in the funnel web. So what's this? This is begin play. So this is checking the spawn numbers. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it so every X amount of time, another piece of food is spawned in the funnel web. So add a function spawn food chunk. I believe there's something called random. I think they're originally Devil's Coach horse larvae food chunks. Yeah, random Devil's Coach horse chunk. Spawn that. Let me just check if it. I believe they set their own food values, so I don't actually need to worry about any of that. Not unless I decide it's a balance issue, which I might do. Just not yet. So now transform. This needs to be. So we have a few functions that we set up ourselves with specific parameters for this. So if I do random reachable, so what that is it's a random point within a circle that's reachable from the center of it. Now the origin point is get at your location, is wherever we are. Watergate gate, funnel web, yep. When is the next stream happening? Probably not till next Thursday. I'm going to try and keep constant streams going on Thursday. So there are a lot. It's going to be the streams are going to be a lot slower paced than last time. There's a chance of a stream on Saturday morning, but that'll just be a bonus one. Just because I believe I have some free time on Saturday morning, and as such, I'll put some time into the game, and if I'm feeling up to it, I'll stream. I'm not going to promise that stream, but if it does come, it will be around 10 o'clock on Saturday. Okay, so that's a random reachable point. I believe it'll deal with its own rotation. And it'll deal with its own scale as well. So I just need to do that. can fall to ground, why not? Okay, so that should... Oh, hang on, radius. 600, was it? 600 seems a lot. That might be a diameter. So if I go with 300, we'll see what that looks like. I'll just make them spawn really rapidly to start with so I can get an idea of where we're at. Okay, so... Ahem. Make one spawn every 5 seconds to start with. Function name. Spawn food. I think a fairly regular rate of spawn's good for this sort of thing, actually. Not obviously not nowhere near that quick, but I think being able to get a feel for how much food a web will provide should be good. Yeah, no, half an hour. I haven't spawned any funnel webs, have I? No. Let's do that. So I need to stop spawning ladybirds. So that'll stop that. That's the spider's web. That's the funnel web. Okay, so I'm expecting just chunks of food to appear in the web every 5 seconds at the minute. Hey, chunk of food. Bing! I'm not sure what the spawn rate of it should be. We have a funnel web in our web. A funnel web spider has entered the funnel web. Obviously, need to slow down the day-night cycle. Oh, there's another funnel web spider has entered the funnel web. Now we have a funnel web and a funnel web in the funnel web. Oh. A stupid woodlouse has entered the web. I need to come up with a better way of the food appearing as well. Although it won't be so noticeable when there's 3 funnel webs in the funnel web. Maybe it can just come out the ground. Yeah, it might not be a bad call. Might look a bit better than it appearing and dropping to the floor. If it rises up from the ground. So I'll do that now. What am I looking for? web landmark. Yep, it's this one. Food chunk. Okay, so rather than full, I'll turn full to ground off. And rather than it appearing here, let's make it appear that minus 50. So it should appear 50 underground. Then we need it to move into its final location. So what we want it to do is, as it rises, as it rises, I want it to do it fairly quickly as well. Okay, I'm gonna need to do this on a tick. There should only ever be one piece of food rising at a time with the funnel webs, so this should be fine. So as it spawns the food, it sets this value food rise to true. We also need its final location. So that's its final location. Let's tick. Okay. This is root aphid landmark. I'm not meant to be here. I'm not meant to be here. Okay, so here's tick. So we say if food rise is true, and rising food does not equal nothing. So rising food equals something. Then Let's have a quick look at this. Vector A, vector B, alpha. Probably don't need to go. So lerp. Lerp is linear interpretation, by the way. Oh, it's not a vector. I don't want to do it on a vector. It's just a float. Okay, so it's going to interpolate linearly between two values. At 0, it will be at value A. At 1, it will be value B. At everything else, it will be something in between. I'm setting the location of the actor. To be... the same as its same at x and y, but its z is going to be taken from this lerp. So that's its rise from the ground. Hello! Hello from the UK. We've come in for the last 20 minutes of the stream. Best part about these streams, the time in the UK is exactly the same as Iceland. Excellent. Okay, so I actually need to save its initial Z as well. I think I made a mistake here. Initial Z is going to be this one. Sorry, that hurt. Thinking like that hurts. That's its initial Z. No. Yes. Food Bride Z is going to be that one. Okay, so it needs to move between those two Z values, essentially. I'm going to make it just happen over 1 second to start with. If I decide it needs shorter or longer time, then, you know. There is a potential issue in this that I will encounter soon, is that if a creature picks up the food whilst it's still coming out of the ground, we might have a bit of trouble. Come on, John, think. It's the event graph, it's the tick. It's fine. Initial Z. Get initial Z. I need another variable as well, which is rise time. This is going to start on 0, and every time a food chunk is spawned, it's going to be reset back to 0. As the tick happens, we're going to increment this. So rise time plus, not increment it, rise, we're going to add to it. So rise time is going to be plus that. Then moving this back, we're going to say actually I'll do that at the end. So after it's moved, so yeah, what all that jazz. Okay, so I'm just gonna test it now. I think this will technically work. It'll just have a couple of problems. I'd love to see the Northern Lights. One day. My wife's from Scotland actually, so maybe we'll go up there one day and watch them from Scotland. Why is that happening? It actually looks like it's doing exactly the opposite of what I want it to do. Come on, there's just about enough time for me to fix this. Okay, so initial Z. No, I've done this the wrong way around. That's the problem. So that's its target, and that's what it's starting at. That's the issue. So it's just completely the opposite. Matt might have a better idea of how to make things like this spawn. Yay! Levitating food! Let me just have a... Created something very strange. Maybe I should work on a horror game instead, because this sort of thing would be good in a horror game. You know, meat levitating. To be honest, I think this is... I like light food, yes. So what we want, I think this is right. I think all it's doing is it's just kept going because I haven't stopped it. So I think that was actually what I wanted to see. I think I'm filling you all with confidence, aren't I? So basically, at this point, what is this? Yeah. Okay, so what I want is another branch. So if rise time is greater than 1, we need to stop it rising. So if it's greater than 1, So now food rise equals false. That should stop it rising. Selected Z should equal food rise Z. So it should equal the final, our final quantity. I'm out of space here. Wait, you lot, come over here. I need to neaten this up in a minute. Tomorrow, another day. Come on, John, focus just 1 minute. Just focus for 1 minute and we'll have this done. Okay. Right. My friends. That's some light Coke. Hunts don't want light Coke. Hey, I'm not sure if I like it. It looks a bit weird. It wasn't a fair fight. Why are they picking on those little hermit crabs? Either way, it's doing what I asked it to. Even if it does need revisiting at some point. Yeah, maybe a bit slower would work. The issue with doing it slower, though, is I've got the fear that some creature will pick it up. And they might do. It's likely to happen. There needs to be a way of detecting whether it's been picked up or it's being picked up. And there is a way, actually. I can add that in quite simply. So it's got an owner. What it's called in the game. So you just add a check-in somewhere. Here's a good place to do it. So what is this? So I've got if rise time is greater than 1, I guess I do it before that. I can do it separately. If it has an owner, it should just turn itself off. So if owner does not equal nothing, so if owner equals something, It shouldn't even set its position in that case. So should just set food rise to equal false, and that be that. That should stop that happening. Although what it won't stop is it when it's coming towards the mouth of the. That is going to be an issue. That is totally going to be an issue. No. Anyway, and I'm going to go in a minute. So just before I go, a quick roundup of what has happened. Did a few things today. We started thinking about putting variables in. I think I can delete that one now, actually. So turning the variables into C++ variables. So when we come to saving and loading, we can access them from the C++, which is going to be quite complicated, but we'll tackle it as we get to it. We've looked at the initial starting of difficulty on various different landmarks as well. I'm going to continue working on this in my own time. Like I say, there's a reasonable chance I'll be back on Saturday. If not, I'll see you next Thursday. Just before I do go, I said I'd show you just for anyone who's missed it in the past. I'll just bring up the lab menu. Don't want to save that. Just so we can have a quick look at the free play mode options. So you got colony name, color. You'll be able to set your colony either a black ant, wood ant colony, or one of your Formicarium colonies. And as you upgrade your Formicarium, your free play colony will upgrade as well. That's the unit option. Previously select wood ants at the minute. That's map type. The idea with free play mode, and this is how I'm building it, is I'll only have to build free play mode once, and then it should work on any map that I build for it. So the idea is there'll be multiple maps to select. That isn't set up yet, but that's just going to change the rest of these options. I'm not going to go through those in a minute. Difficulty. In free play mode, difficulty doesn't stay the same, and what happens is as you play, it changes, and this is what type of changes it goes through. So random is it will just be every few minutes it will randomly change to a different value. It'll change to a random different value. Spikes is every few minutes there's a chance it'll rapidly go up in difficulty and then back down again. Ramp is it's constantly increasing in difficulty as the level goes on. Ramp with spikes is constantly increasing in difficulty, but you'll get some really difficult moments. And the difficulty will affect things like what creatures spawn, how many ladybirds are attacking an aphid farms, that sort of thing. These are the day-night cycles, but I'm also going to do stuff with creatures nocturnal and diurnal, so certain creatures will come out at night, some won't. Other stuff like that. So how long till I can conquer the surface with my ants? The surface is in. There's two levels with the surface in the game mode already. In the game already. So if you're just looking to conquering the surface, get playing the early access version now. The first two missions are underground, then you play the Formicarium challenge, and then you're above ground. In the third mission. And these are all the various landmarks that I was talking about: Spider's Web, Seed Plant, Aphid Farm, Dead Fish. Right, the two we haven't done is Seed Plant and Infestation. Infestation's going to be just an area of high activity, creatures wise. So it'll be a busy area going on. but there should be some food there for you to gather. Seed plant is a plant that's just constantly dropping seed. And then you've got options of being able to turn creatures on and off. So yeah, that's they're the options. Quite a lot of them are already implemented. We did the day-night cycle, although we haven't done nocturnal diurnal. Colony colour and name should work. Species works. The difficulty is we're working on that at the moment, and I've been working on that as we've been going. I've played all the levels. Yeah, but this free play mode we're looking at getting out next month in its initial iteration, and so hopefully it'll be a long play game mode, so you should be able to keep coming back to it and changing settings, playing it on harder modes, whatnot. Okay, thanks very much for joining me in the stream, and yeah, do look out for future streams coming up. We post them on social media, but all these streams go up online anyway, on YouTube. So yeah, thanks very much for joining me. And well, I'll see you in the next one.